The man worth $200 million was pretending to be broke. He poured top-shelf wine into cheap bottles, transferred gourmet pâté into discount containers, even repackaged imported ham with sales stickers. Just a day earlier, Mark had been as poor as a church mouse. His wife had asked him for a divorce. Depressed, Mark bought a lottery ticket. The next day, he hit the jackpot. His lawyer warned him that divorcing now would mean giving half the whole $100 million to his wife. So Mark decided to fake poverty. But living with money he couldn't spend was torture. He sneaked off to a mall, bought himself several designer suits, a limited edition luxury watch, and all sorts of high-end goods. Then he spotted his best friend's family. Panicking, he ducked into a jewelry store. He signaled the clerk not to let them in. The clerk played along perfectly, stopping his friend at the entrance. Grateful, Mark bought a pair of earrings for the clerk. Back home, he hid all the luxury items in his storage room, then settled down to enjoy his wine. What Mark didn't know yet was how much trouble this repackaging would cost. Just then his wife came home. He scrambled onto the sofa. By the time she saw him, he was already half undressed. But his wife didn't overthink it. She even suggested he work as a stock clerk at a supermarket. To avoid suspicion, Mark agreed. To his dismay, the supermarket owner turned out to be his old rival, who humiliated him from the moment they met. But thinking of his $200 million, Mark swallowed his pride. So he played poor by day and indulged in five-star hotels by night. One day, his in-laws unexpectedly visited. His wife brought out the repackaged wine. Mark quickly offered to open a better bottle. His father-in-law mocked, "Anything drinkable is fine." But after one sip, he froze. The taste was unmistakably top shelf. Seeing her father enjoy it, his wife said there were a few more bottles in the fridge. Mark's heart ached with every swallow. Then as he reached for something, his luxury watch slipped into view. But what he didn't know was that something even more devastating was about to happen. The man wanted to show off the luxury car's performance. He activated cruise control as soon as he hit the road. But before long, a red warning light lit up on the dashboard, and the voice system began glitching and freezing. No matter how hard he pressed the brake or tapped the screen, he couldn't slow the car down. The vehicle started swerving wildly across the highway. Then his father told him to press the accelerator to reset the system. But when Mark stepped on the gas, the speed shot up to 140 miles per hour. His father urged him to press it a few more times. Mark stomped repeatedly, and the car practically took off. Mark swerved onto an exit ramp, just as another driver was about to get out of his car. Ollie looked at his brand-new compact car. His heart sank, but he decided to try reattaching the door first. Instead, the door fell right off. That sent Ollie over the edge. He shoved the door aside and took off in furious pursuit. He was so angry he snapped at his family over the phone. Then he hung up, turned up the music, and started chasing them, waving one hand out the window. Meanwhile, Mark's father switched into the driver's seat, but accidentally pulled out an electronic connector. A highway patrol officer pulled up alongside them. Mark yelled for help, but the officer couldn't hear him. His wife quickly grabbed a map, tore off a piece of tissue she'd used to stop a nosebleed, and wrote a distress signal on it to make sure the officer could see it. Their oldest daughter rolled down the window, but she lost her grip and the paper smacked right into the officer's face. As soon as he peeled it off, the map flew with the wind and landed on Ollie's windshield. The sudden blockage made him slam on the brakes. The officer finally understood what Mark was trying to say. He raced ahead to clear the lanes, but as they approached the toll booths, the car still wouldn't slow down. The lead officer called to clear the lanes ahead, but by mistake, the opposite side was cleared. Mark swerved into the oncoming lanes. They made it through the toll gate, but what Mark didn't know was that even greater danger lay ahead. The man took his son's water pistol and decided to rob a convenience store. But the moment he turned around, the cashier had become a muscular man. Jack was so scared he ran back to the car. Luckily, his wife was waiting outside. Not ready to give up, Jack decided to try again. He spotted a man using an ATM, only to realize it was his friend. His wife felt utterly defeated, so they left feeling embarrassed. They then drove to a supermarket, but Jack ended up escorting an elderly lady out. His wife didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After discussing it, they agreed to try one last time. This time Jack walked into a store, but when his wife saw it was an elderly person, she felt too guilty and rushed in to stop Jack. But when Jack told her about the debt collection call, his wife instantly threatened the store. After their first successful attempt, they realized being robbers wasn't so hard, and they grew more skilled with each try. When thirsty, they robbed a coffee shop. When hungry, they hit a sushi bar. They even changed outfits each time, adding new fun to their operations. With their new wealth, they bought a TV, paid their electricity bill, and reconnected with old friends. One day, the couple planned to rob a bank. The wife walked in and pretended to faint to distract the security guard. Jack used the chance to cut through a keycard lock and made it into the bank vault. Just as their plan seemed about to succeed, another group of robbers stormed. When the alarm went off, the police arrived. Jack pretended to be a hostage on the floor. Seeing the police, the robbers immediately surrendered. It turned out they were Jack's former co-workers, and Jack successfully walked out of the bank. Back home, Jack watched the news. His old colleagues were so desperate they'd turned to robbery, while their boss was putting on a pitiful show on camera. He also announced he'd sue Jack. Seeing this, Jack stood up. He went to a bar to drink and ran into the recently released finance officer. As Jack was about to confront him, the finance officer quickly revealed the boss's secret, and Jack began forming a bold new plan. The man just sneezed and sprayed saliva onto a famous painting. He quickly pulled out a handkerchief and frantically wiped the painting. Mr. Bean was shocked to discover the head in the portrait had turned blue. He looked at his handkerchief. A pen had leaked ink. Mr. Bean panicked. He quickly locked the exhibition hall door, carefully took down the painting, tried to wipe it clean with his sleeve, but ended up separating the canvas from the frame. He even accidentally stepped on it twice. Now it was completely ruined. Helpless, Mr. Bean covered the painting with a white cloth, disguised it as a table, and sneaked away. Then he slipped into a storage room. He secured the painting, grabbed a bottle of paint thinner from a shelf. He dampened a cloth and wiped, and actually removed all the stains. Mr. Bean was overjoyed, but as he turned to put things away, the restored painting began to bubble. Mr. Bean jumped around in panic again. He tried desperately to stop it from dissolving, but the paint came off with every wipe, leaving the painting headless. Mr. Bean had to return the painting to its display. To avoid detection, he blocked the main door with a potted plant. Then a staff member walked in through a side door and immediately noticed the painting was missing. He stared in disbelief and questioned Mr. Bean. Nervously, Mr. Bean lifted the frame. The painting was ruined. The staff member screamed in horror. He hurried to close the side door. He was the curator responsible for the painting, pacing back and forth, clutching his head. But he still couldn't believe it and looked again. With everyone waiting for the unveiling ceremony, the two reluctantly put the painting back. But Mr. Bean couldn't sleep knowing what he'd done. He learned from the curator's son that there was a poster of the painting in his room. Mr. Bean hatched a plan. He gathered his tools and sneaked into the art gallery after hours. First, he mixed laxative into the security guard's water, then swapped the key to the restroom. Soon the guard felt unwell. While the guard was in the bathroom, Mr. Bean slipped into the room, stuck chewing gum on the painting, attached the poster over it, coated the poster with a protective film, then returned the painting to its place and left unnoticed. The man accidentally found his missing couch at home and discovered it had been shrunk 1,000 times smaller. Clearly, the shrinking machine he had been developing for years was a success. Then he suddenly thought of his missing children. Panicked, he began searching the floor carefully. When he reached the broom, he remembered he had swept the floor earlier and might have swept the children away. Luckily, he noticed a small hole in the garbage bag. They must be somewhere in the lawn. To avoid stepping on them, Jack made a walking stick and searched the grass cautiously. But he accidentally hit the sprinkler switch. Torrents of water rained down like cannonballs. The children hiding in the grass scattered in all directions. The little girl fell into a muddy puddle. In the crisis, her brother slid down quickly on a large leaf and pulled her out before she was completely submerged. Jack on the lawn was frantic with worry, but to avoid stepping on the children, he climbed onto the clothesline pole and, under the confused stares of passers-by, managed to turn off the water valve. Meanwhile, the children washed off the mud and continued toward home. But after only a few steps, they came across a giant cookie. They rushed over and began eating. Suddenly, the little girl looked up. A giant ant was looming above them. Terrified, they hid in the bushes. Her younger brother recognized it as a young ant. They were gentle and very fast, so they came up with an idea. Using a piece of cookie as bait, they convinced the ant to carry them forward. Jack upgraded his search equipment. He used a TV antenna to hoist himself up, though it reduced the risk of harming the children. The search progress became painfully slow. Out of options, Jack asked his wife for help and told her the children had been shrunk. Together, they searched the lawn. A neighbor happened to see them. He tossed a cigarette but into the grass. The children used it to light a torch and kept moving. When they reached a certain spot, a huge building block suddenly blocked their path. The children climbed inside and fell asleep, but they didn't know. Danger was slowly closing in on them.